Welcome to the Artistic Process. This is episode 12, The Artist and the Gingras Experience. I am your host, Giulia Tripoli, and as always, we are brought to you by Movement Apparel. Check them out at movementapparel.ca and use my discount code of I am an artist for 15% off. For those of you that want to check out the pop-up shop at Tripoli Studios, that is still happening with some extra fun gear, dance-style sportswear inspired by dancers for dancers. As you can tell by the title of this episode, our fantastic guest today is the one and only Kim Gingras, who has some incredible news for all of us. We're going to get right to it. Here we go. It is my esteemed pleasure to welcome my dear friend Kim Gingras to the podcast. How you doing, Kim?
Hi, Giulia. I'm so good. How are you?
Oh, so good. I'm so happy to have you here. I'm so excited to talk to you about some amazing things you've been doing. We are going to get right into it. You have started your own program, the Kim Experience. I want to know everything about it. You've taken all of your incredible experiences and compiled them into this gorgeous new mentorship program. And I wanted to give everyone a bit of a teaser of what is going to be offered with all these lessons wrapped into it. So give me a little background on maybe why you started the program and what is to be expected.
Yes. Thank you so much. Oh, man, I'm so excited. I've been working on this program for the past 5 months, which is, the silver lining with COVID is I had started, finally writing things down and creating my program beginning of March. And then boom, 2 weeks later, this whole pandemic happens. And I'm like, okay, the universe said you are doing this whole thing right now. So I'm super excited. So the Kim Gingras experience is basically, I've realized throughout the years with the messages and the emails that I've been getting with all these questions when it comes to a career in dance. I mean, we have so many incredible studios and teachers and dance classes available to, work on the physical side of being a dancer. Obviously, you have to be an extraordinary dancer to make a career out of it. But then there's the entire other side of that medal of the mental aspect, psychological, emotional. And I feel like that side of things is not talked about enough, or it's a little harder to get to. And along with a bunch of questions on the industry, which, could be something like, whose classes should I take? Do I need to have an agency? Do I need representation? At what age? How do I get noticed at conventions? Is networking important? Is my profile on my Instagram important? Should I be posting videos? All these questions always come up. And I figured, you know what? I need to create this really safe space where people could be vulnerable, ask questions, feel like that, there is no judgment here. We're just all about asking questions. There is no bad questions. And I want to dive deep into, everything that I've learned for the past 15 years plus in the industry.
15 years plus. Look at us go, buddy.
I know, we're getting old.
Yeah, we've got birthdays coming up soon, Virgo babies.
Whoop, whoop.
I absolutely love that you're creating this kind of safe and honest space. You've always been open, and I think you've always welcomed questions. You've always welcomed for people to hit you up if they have anything at all. But why not put that all together into an actual program? Because who takes the time to focus on the mental and emotional, and who actually is willing to give away these kind of industry secrets, which shouldn't be secrets at all. We should all be winning. We should all be uplifting one another. So I think it's really beautiful. You touched upon a few things, so let's get into it a little bit deeper. Let's dive into, let's say, auditions, training, and classes. I know you've got one of the best audition stories of all time. That's your Beyoncé story. And before that, you were training all kinds and taking classes. How about a little bit of story time meets a little bit of advice for auditions, training, and classes?
Yes, absolutely. So yeah, let's talk about that Beyoncé audition. Some of you may have heard it, some of you not. But basically, so to me, touring the world with Beyoncé was my number one dream. That is what I wanted to do. I was still in Montreal, just in love with Destiny's Child. and, and then when Beyoncé branched out, I was like, oh my gosh, please, one day. And so I've auditioned for her multiple times throughout the years. So it took me 6 years or so from the very first audition I did with her until I actually booked my first gig with her. So it's a long time, it's many no's. And, it started with me just hopping onto a bus from Montreal to New York because there was an open call, which meant you don't have to be represented. Anybody and their mother can go, which they did. Everyone was there. Um, and so we waited, for hours in the winter cold. It's mid-January. We're outside around the block, and finally it's my turn to come in. And you just feel like that rush. It feels like you're part of a movie, or I'm taking off my clothes really quickly. And I get on the dance floor. Frank Gatson, her choreographer, is there, and he's like, boom, bam, let's go. Groups, groups, groups. You're doing this, you're doing that. Diagonal. And then just like all of a sudden it's like a short little combo. You don't have much time to learn it or to showcase it. And then they tell you to line up in front of the mirror, and then all of a sudden Frank walks one, checks us out one by one, gets to you, comes to your ear, and then quietly either says, "Yes, please stay," or "Thank you," which means you can go, you're cut. And, oh my gosh, I mean,
Bye.
this was like my first, like, I guess, American huge, like, movie like audition, and I'll forever remember it. I was like just so nervous, but also so excited. And he ended up, well, actually, he ended up telling me, "Yes, please stay." But I, of course, just young and naive, didn't know, and I had booked my bus ride back home the next morning. And I was like,
Oh,
"Oh, cool, I could stay." And then Frank and them are like, "Okay, cool. So tomorrow's the callback." I'm like, "Ooh, about that." Wait,
oh my God.
just, part of the learning experience. So I, was put on tape hoping for the best, but obviously when you leave earlier than the end of the audition, your chances are really rare. And I wasn't ready. I was young. I still had so much to learn, but I went back home. So that was kind of like my first sort of rejection indirectly. And then that was one of many. And throughout the years, I just kept going and pushing and training and learning from that one experience, going on to the next. I remember one of my last auditions for Beyonce was for her Revel show. That's after she came back, like her comeback after being pregnant for the first time.
Yes.
And this was going to be a full concert, like an hour and a half show, just all her songs. I was so excited. They were looking for 10 girls. After days of learning choreographies and getting cut, 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 I get down to like the last 13 or 14 girls. I was like, this is for me. I'm feeling it. I feel so strong, so confident.
Mm,
And then I did not get picked. So I was
that's
part of,
okay.
yeah, I was part of the three or four that did not get it. So okay, all right. Again, it's another no, but I had to learn throughout the years that these no's, they don't mean, okay, well, shift your trajectory, change your dream. This is not for you. It's just one step closer to what I want. Every time I learned something new, I went back, to the drawing board, or to, me working on my things, and then went back stronger every time. And so finally I got the direct book to do the Super Bowl in 2013. So yeah, auditions are just, they're a lot. They're tricky. I know they're intense for so many of us. You sort of get used to them throughout the years, but I think it takes just experience plus a few tips and tricks that I learned throughout the years that I want to share during this program.
So important and so vital. I'm not going to have you give away all of the tips and tricks.
No.
People got to sign up. What about training in classes, though, in order to prepare yourself for an audition?
Ooh, that's great. I think, as we always talk about, just, if you can be as versatile as possible, I think that's really important. You want to be just very technical as much as you can. Take in all the workshops, all the hours that you can, try to travel. I think that's super important. If there is,
Mm.
something happening in Toronto, something happening in New Jersey, New York, places where you can drive to, if that's easier for you or budget wise is, doable. I definitely encourage people to do that for sure. You want to be seen. So there's, on top of the training and the also the input that you're getting from your trainers, like, don't be afraid to go and ask them, like, do you have anything for me to work on, to correct, and this, that, like, get some feedback. That's super important. And then do the work. And then on top of that, you are asking not only your teachers that are used to seeing you, but other big choreographers that maybe are looking for potential, dancers they'll be hiring. So I think that's super helpful to connect the dots towards an audition that you'll be doing in the future.
Oh, so smart, because that choreographer could be running the audition later and remember you. And if you ask for feedback and you did the work, they're going to remember those things, which makes so much sense. So you mentioned that the Beyonce audition was an open call. So there's open call, and then there's private auditions, you have to be part of an agency. Let's talk a little bit about how important representation is, agency, and then also, people to help you when you need to get your visa and heading out into the States. So how are those three things connected?
Yes. So Canada's a little different. I would say Montreal's a little different. I think there was no agency for us back then. It wasn't until when
No.
we were younger in our 20s. And then I think maybe around 10 years ago or so, it kind of came around. I mean, there's always acting and comedian and all that agency wise print work. But like a dance agency, I think that's a newer concept for us in Montreal, but it's been around, in Toronto, Vancouver, LA, and New York, all those big cities. And it's super helpful. It's not a must, but I definitely encourage it. Personally, that's my opinion. It is so helpful. The agency or the person that represents you usually has all these connects with production companies, casting companies. They know
Mm.
what projects are coming up. They'll be able to tell you, here's this audition, here's this for you. I pitched you for that. So I think that's super important to get if you can. But again, let's say if we look at Montreal, it is doable without. Again, it's the networking, it's the word of mouth, it's going back to what we just talked about, taking as many classes as you can and creating those bonds with those different choreographers and teachers. You never know when it's gonna come in handy. And then all that also, it's all kind of attached together because when it comes to your work visa to, let's say, move to the States, you're gonna need at least, I think it's 12 to 20 different referral letters that
Yeah.
are signed by people in the industry with, just people backing you up and saying, yep, I loved, seeing Kim dance at, XYZ convention. She stood out of everybody. I can't wait to work with her when she gets to the States. So again,
Mm.
with connections. And if you know this in advance, then you can start connecting the dots and knowing that, okay, well, let me get to this convention. Let me step out of my shell and say hello to this person. And obviously, it all has to be very authentic. I don't want anybody to force a friendship or some sort of, kissing ass, if I could say this on the podcast. But
Absolutely.
it needs to be authentic. You need to be yourself and truthful. Like approach the people that whose work you really do admire and love, and then it'll all naturally sort of connect and happen for you.
Oh, it's such an excellent point. Authenticity, and we talk about this so much, being genuine, and that also resonating now in what we like to call the virtual resume, which is your Instagram. So you did touch really briefly on networking, which I think is such a key part of this, just as a human in general, but it is being authentic, genuine, and kind that kind of gets you noticed properly.
Yeah.
So what would be some of your I guess things that you've experienced that have worked for you in the past when it comes to networking and brandings? I know you've got some great stories about meeting certain people and then them, remembering you, calling you back and stuff like that, that had to do with your networking. And then maybe a little bit about developing your brand and that good old Instagram virtual resume.
Right. So yes, things are shifting.
Right?
But yes, I think let's see, with starting with just the networking and the people that and again, genuine relationships, like you mentioned. For example, I did the Monsters of Hip Hop conventions time and time again in different cities. I was picked as a finalist, a potential finalist one year. They asked me to be the swing. I couldn't do it, but I was like, it's okay. Hopefully next year. Like I just kept going, but just to prove, just to show, and again to remind people that there are lots of no's and bumps and obstacles on the road. And then a year later, 2008, finally they offered me as an official finalist to be able to basically go to LA for 3 weeks and learn from all the best choreographers in the industry there and build a 1 hour
Ooh.
and a half show with a Monsters of Hip Hop cast. So they were picking 7 girls and seven guys from the entire year of convention. And so super exciting. Did that in 2008. And out of that cast, there was actually a few people that I know you'll know. Paris was in there. Jaquel was
Hmm.
in there. Darrell. Anyway, so many great dancers. So Jaquel Knight, who choreographs for Beyonce and so many others, was a part of the cast dancing with me. And he said, we made a great connection. And he's like, whenever you move to LA, I've got your back. Just hit me up, let me know I'm there for you, which was so sweet of him. And he sure did.
Wow.
I was able to pull that card when it came time for a Nicole Scherzinger audition that I found out about through a friend. Never got the memo from my agency because I didn't fit the specs. which are, when you get an audition breakdown on what they are looking for. I think
Right.
it was something about the ethnicity being ambiguous, basically no Caucasian girls. And I was like, okay, I get it. Fair. Thank you, agency, for, clarifying that. But I just still feel like this, I could do this. This is my style. This is
Mm.
the empowerment, feminine in heels. Like, I want to give it a shot. So, who is the choreographer? Let me check. Let me find out. I find out it's Jaquel Knight. I hit him up personally. Can I show up? He's like, absolutely. Just come at this time. We'll figure it out. Come show up. I'd love you there. So the squeaky wheel gets the oil. And
Mhm.
I got to the audition. It was a super long process, lots of learning. Nicole showed up. She wanted us to do the entire routine and dance and freestyle the rest of the entire song solo, one by one. I think the audition lasted until like midnight or past midnight.
Wow.
And I was booked on it, and I got it, which was not only the Right There music video, but that turned into lots of firsts, like my first Ellen DeGeneres, my first So You Think You Can Dance appearance, my first American Idol performance, a European tour, and then just years and years of work with her. So I just, all of that coming from a connection I made with somebody. Plus, mixed with also just going for things. It's really important too. I know it can be scary, especially as Canadians. We're like, sorry, sorry, sorry. And we're so polite and we're so careful, but we need to take those chances. You need to jump and jump in and really knock on some doors, even if it's scary at times. That's super important.
Oh, it's so true. And you talk a lot about overcoming your fears and, just going for that next step. So you ended up having this, you wouldn't have gotten it without that authentic and genuine connection that you networked years back, which started on your branding. So you kind of also knew who you were, this strong woman in heels. That was something you knew about yourself.
Yeah.
And that also resonates, I find, in your Instagram page. Like, I know exactly who you are
Hmm.
by what you've posted. Like, I've always been able to tell people, like, Kim is exactly who she is, virtually and in real life. And I think that that's something important that dancers need to discover. So, developing yourself and your branding and putting it into your virtual resume,
Yeah.
what would you let people know would be some ways that they can maybe kind of refine that? So, when they show up in person, we're like, oh, that is you, you know?
Yeah, 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 yeah. I think that's super important. And thank you. And I feel the same about you and your, all your profiles and everything that you post and share. I think
Thank
it's
you.
so
Thank you.
wonderful to be able to just be like, oh my gosh, when you meet the person and for real, you're like, you are that person. Amazing. Not like, wait, whose picture is this?
Mm.
Or even personality. So I don't want to say too much because obviously it's part of, the people. I want to cherish and respect the people that are already signed up, and I'll be sharing all
Of
of those
course.
details and little tips and tricks. But I do want to say the importance of your page, your Instagram page in 2020. I know, I have this love and hate relationship with Instagram and social media, and I know a lot of people do, but unfortunately, it is part of the game. So why not just jump in on it full, 2 feet in, if that's what you want to be doing and you want to work in the industry, because it has happened time and time again where I'm assisting a choreographer or I'm choreographing something or I'm, part of a team, and we talk about a dancer, and then what happens? We're like, okay, check his page, check her page. We don't have time
Hmm.
to go on like LA casting or hit up whose agency is it, and it's like, let me just see their Instagram profile. And it's also happened where I've booked a job and I'm thinking I found out through Block from my agency, and then all of a sudden I show up there for the fitting, and there's my little picture of me and my name where my costume is, and it's not one of my headshots. It's totally an Instagram picture. I'm like, oh, cool, got it. So they went there and they found what they wanted, and that's how I booked it. So it is so important. If you right now are thinking this is not for me, I really encourage you with, just lots of love to maybe reconsider thinking, okay, can I add a little bit more of me and dance and all my special skills onto my page?
I think it makes a lot of sense. And I'm the same way as you. We grew up in a time where we didn't have this stuff. We had to present ourselves in person.
Right.
We had to show up like that, and I never want Instagram to take away from the fact that we still need to show up, but you need to show a bit of you there, if not all of you, if you can. And a better way to look at it for those that don't love social media, which is how I used to be, is that it is my resume. This is who I am. If you want to book me, if you want to talk to me, if you want to understand who I am, this is what this is. I log in, I post what I got to post. I like, comment, answer messages, and I get off, and we're going to learn to do that a bit better now because the social media scene can be so dark.
Yeah. Yep.
can be so jarred with everything happening right now. So I know you're going to give everybody some great advice in your program about how to properly fine tune that. But just letting everybody know that we can still find the joy in social media if we can, do it properly.
Absolutely. And to add to that, I mean, it's
Yeah.
okay to have two pages. If you
Yeah.
if you want to be, let loose and be yourself and not have to think twice about what you're posting, maybe you have that page be private, and then have another one with your full name for just dance stuff, or, acting, dancing, singing, everything you want to showcase, industry.
One 1000%. I have a requested family account and I have my professional page so that I can differentiate
Yep.
too. Because also people need to understand that once you put something out on the internet, it's there forever.
It
So
sure is.
be smarter with your choices.
Yeah.
Being able to know what to post, though, comes with understanding a bit of who you are. I know you've gone on that journey and you've really developed this persona that, we know is Kim and I know you know is Kim. Understanding one's self-worth, values, boundaries, and still being able to stand out is a tough game.
Mhm.
It's a game that I think you've mastered, to be perfectly honest. And I would love to hear a little bit about your journey to understanding self-worth and maybe some instances where your values and boundaries were tested while you were still trying to like make a name for yourself and stand
Yeah.
out.
Such a great question, Julia. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Let me try to answer it as best as I can. I mean, it's a lifelong journey, that's for sure. I think with experience, you gain a lot of confidence because you start finding what your X is and where you belong, and it's trial and error. And that's the thing. A lot of people will look at, it's either I fail or I succeed, and they're one. You need to fail multiple times to get to where you want to go and succeed. I mean, they're a part of the same journey. So a lot of lessons learned, a lot of, okay, you know what, this was uncomfortable, this wasn't for me. I'll know next time. I'll say no, I'll put my foot down, and actually doing it. Because as dancers, we, sometimes we live in that scarcity of there's not enough for us, and there's no jobs, or not enough for, to go around for everybody. You get offered something, you don't love it, it doesn't feel right with your values, but it's the one check you'll get this month. So I mean, that takes time. But if, I can encourage anybody listening to right away just know who you are and what you're about, and put your foot down. It's okay to say no. It's okay to, just follow that gut, that inside voice that says this is not for me, or this is for me. Really, getting to know who you are. I think that comes with just the experience, to be honest, as I'm getting older and older. And also lots of reading on my end. That's what has really helped me. As much as sometimes we can make fun of like all these self-help books, I
Right.
definitely have a full collection, and it's helped me really find, I think, the spiritual side to just my life and my being that was missing when I was younger. I didn't grow up on, any religion or any, no going to church, no nothing. It was kind of like, oh, it wasn't like you can't do it, but it wasn't introduced to me. So
Mm.
so I just kind of did my thing, and it's in my mid 20s, I would say, that all of a sudden, things were hard. I was facing my sexual abuse for the first time. That happened when I was a child, like really
Yes.
facing it and going to court, and all these. It's like almost like a yin yang. Like all of that happened while I was on tour with Beyonce. So it's like the highest highs with the lowest low, trying to balance the two, but live it on my own. And it was a lot. So I'm digging into, meditation and self-help books and journaling and all of that, doing the work, and really looking within and looking in front of a mirror. It's like, okay, who am I? What are my fears? What's going on? What are my blockages? What are my conditioned beliefs? Those that, are set when we're really young. I think it's from 0 to 7 years old is when all your core beliefs are kind of installed. So to look back at that and say, okay, you know what, let me analyze them and unlearn those that I'm not cool with now. The reasons why we do things, or why we are, and how we act, and how we want to get validation. And so it's a lot of internal work, and meditation has been, one of my biggest key elements that I really recommend for everybody.
Ooh, I love that.
Yeah.
I absolutely love that. I know you'd mentioned a bit of that in the live that we had on
Mhm.
Instagram a while back, and I really enjoy that kind of perspective on things, because it's not necessarily something that I originally thought about doing, but the self-reflection and self-worth and knowing your boundaries, we never stop to
Right.
kind of say, like, what am I actually okay with? And especially for dancers moving out to LA, I spoke to Randy actually about this in the last podcast, which
I
is,
heard it's so good.
yeah, so, like, but it makes so much sense. You get out there and you're ready to go, and dancers are always ready to do it and ready to do whatever. And we have this fear of, saying no, because maybe that'll lead to never being hired again. But if you respectfully decline in a way because you understand who you are and you understand your boundaries, that could also gain you a little bit more respect.
Absolutely. Yep.
I think it's definitely different, but that would be some great, kind of work for people to do internally, would be to maybe let's dive a little deeper into our values and our boundaries, etc. Once we know who we are, once yes, it is a lifelong journey, like you said, but once we start to understand that, then how do we project that outwards into standing out and being unique while staying authentic and genuine at the same time? Do you have some tips on that? Don't give away too much.
Yeah. um, um, we can't be afraid. I think it's important to just take those chances again and really showcase. If I'm understanding the question properly, let me know and you can correct me. But just really putting yourself out there, as you are and who you are. And the thing is if you go into an audition looking into what are they looking for, what do they need, okay, I'll recreate myself and be that person. Well, then you're acting the entire time. And if you book the job, then you need to be that persona or that fake person you just created to book the job. And it's not always bad. There are certain, times and circumstances where it's cool. There's a few little things you change about yourself or your look, or you go a little bit more rock, or a little more that, fine. But I think going in, and I learned that more with acting auditions and castings, they're so different. It's so bizarre, and I'm still trying to get used to them. But like you go in, sometimes it's just 2 or 3 of you max, and they don't really tell you much. And at first, I just always wanted to just overdo it and please and try to figure out what are they looking for. And they actually don't really know what they're looking for. And I think that's the trick. I think it's you be yourself,
Yeah.
and if you are right for the job and this job is meant to be right for you, it's going to click and that's it. They're going to be sold. They're going to be like, oh my gosh, we didn't know we needed you. You're great. But to do that and to be your most like authentic, confident self, that's what you have to do. You have to tap into that and not like, let me recreate something I think they're looking for. Because then you get lost in translation. They're not sure that that's what they want. They're not sold on what you're selling. So the best way to go about this is really, you step into any audition, find a routine that gets you centered first. Like prep your things. I'm such a prepper and organizer, the Virgo side of us. Yeah. So it's, I knew my costume and my look and everything in advance. I studied the preference of a choreographer. So without changing who I am, but are they like, do they want you to dress all in black when you come to an audition? Do they prefer, people to have their hair up because they hate hair in the face, or, little tricks and things like that, that little details that they have shared in the past that you want to study and know. So I prepare everything. And then for me, it's just taking that time again, going back to meditation, or even just a big, deep breath, knowing, okay, I'm going to visualize this audition. What am I going into? It's going to be chaotic. Probably there's 800 people coming in. I'm going to see some friends. I'm going to want to catch up. But it's like I tried to prep myself and just, so I'm not as distracted, I guess, so I could be the most focused on why I'm there. So visualizing and seeing all that and prepping in advance. Once I get there and take a big deep breath, then I'm on, I'm connected, I'm ready. I have this job and I'm focused and I'm willing to be myself and leave it all on the dance floor. I don't know that I answered your question about like,
You did, and then some. I absolutely,
okay.
I absolutely love it. But being prepared is key, in visualizing that moment. You actually just posted recently about a great audition with the 5 Team Canada girls. and how you guys prepped everything that night before. Tell us a little bit about that. I really enjoyed
Oh,
that
that was
post.
so fun. So we were so very green still in Los Angeles. It had been a couple of months. And there was this, and I want to say it probably was like the biggest audition of that year, if not maybe even all the years that I've been there. I feel like that one was just huge. Like, and if you look at the cast of dancers that ended up doing X Factor with me, like it's the Allison Hawker and the Taja Riley and the, like all these
Mass.
amazing dancers that have
Yeah.
danced for everybody, and we all happened to be in town. Or I don't know if it was just all of us coming up at the same time, but anyways, it was huge, and the pressure was on because everybody was there. And we're talking about Brian Freeman, who is
Yeah.
just unbelievable and so professional, and he's excellent, and that's what he expects. So all the girls, so Mel, Amy, Jamie, Tamina, and I decided to arrive there around the same time and sign up at the same time, so that when, for those who are listening, when you're auditioning at first, you're given a number, you audition, all day long, and at the end they sometimes will go with the numbers and say, okay, well, from 1 to 6 go on the floor, then 7 to whatever. And so they divide into groups according to the numbers. So all our numbers are together. We got to be in the same group. And as we're waiting for all these rounds, we're like killing time, going over the choreography, cleaning each other up. But we're like, wait, there's time, there's dead time, dead music at the beginning. Let's use it. Let's catch their attention right away and choreograph the first couple of eights. So we did, and then came our time, and I feel bad for, I think, the other 2 or 3 dancers that were part of our group because
Oh, there was other girls in the
yes,
group.
yes, we didn't know them then, and we didn't get together and plan all of that as a group, but we knew that the 5 of us were going to be together. So
Oh,
yeah, so right away we just all, I think we all set from the back, and everyone was like prepped to the front towards a mirror and the judges and the table at the front, and we all prepped to the back, and then slowly turn, and then had this whole like little combo made up, super simple but effective right away. No one had seen that all day long. You're kind of like waking up the choreographers and the people, casting, kind of like, whoa, okay, I'm awake now, what's going on? And we just came with force, and we're these 5 ladies on work visas that have paid a lot of money to be here and are hoping to book this job. So yeah, that was super fun, and it definitely worked in my favor. I ended up booking that for 3 months long, and it was just such an incredible job. But again, it's that preparation, organization, the focus, and the team playing too. Like, I think that's super important. If you can find a few people that have that same positive and like outgoing, not outgoing, but just the same energy, the same like ball of fire of like, we know why we're here and we know what we want. Let's go. Like, I think attach yourself to that and try to find those people in your life. They're just you guys are gonna lift each other up and help each other throughout auditions. And this time, I booked it, but there are other times where, those same girls will be together and all of a sudden Jamie books it instead. Or, and it's just, if your friend is winning, if another woman is winning, if someone, another dancer wins, it's your win too. You got to just celebrate it and know that the next one is for you.
oh my God, totally. Because that just means that that path was meant for them and something else was meant for you. And if we can be happy for one another, it just brings us more joy. It's a win-win all
Yeah.
around, like you said. And I mean, being smart at audition is so key. Talk about even in class and standing out. If everyone goes left, you go right. I mean, unless the choreo goes left, but
Right, right,
they
right.
started down. Everyone else started front. You guys started back, and just grabbing the attention from the beginning is so 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 smart. Being in that group, being in that mindset, I can just picture the other girls in that group though right now being like, "What is happening?
Yeah, I felt
Nobody
so
told us."
bad.
But
I felt bad
that's so
afterwards.
good.
Yeah.
It's so funny. I absolutely love it. Listen, when it comes to, we've spoken about this before, and there's a big onus on, I would say, getting booked and getting recognized, picked for things. It has to do with what you look like. It has to do with what you know, and then it has to do with your talent. But sometimes it's not in the right order, the order that we would love, which is talent first. Who you've explained that genuine networking part. But what about the look? We've talked a lot about body image. I don't have that cookie cutter, really tiny body type. I never have. You and I both, played sports and stuff like that, and we've got the muscle on us. And
Yeah.
sometimes, I'd get on set and the costume that they hand me is like big enough to blow my nose. Like it's not
Right,
getting on me. It's not, the boobs are not fitting in it, you know?
right.
And body image as a dancer, I think we're starting to normalize more and more body types. But I know that's something you've gone through a lot. What would be a little bit of your insight into, loving your body,
Hmm.
coming out and being confidently who you are, and the importance of having a look, but it being your look?
Yeah. That's great. I think we kind of have it backwards when it comes to let me be skinny or in shape or let me lose some weight so that they will be picking me at auditions or, I'll be the one that gets booked. It's the other way around. It's let me do it for myself if I'm trying to get more in shape, because then that will give me the confidence and they will notice that and want to book me. It's like we have it all kind of twisted. We think that it's what we watch, it's what we see. All these skinny girls are booking the jobs, and I've never had a six pack, but I know that normally can fit in sort of that category. So I get it. Like sometimes you feel like, okay, well, it's just their body type and they're great. They probably don't even work at it or not. I love to
Mhm.
eat, so I work at mine. I'm a
I love food.
I love food, and I'm a sweets person, and I have really short legs, and we have all our personal things that you kind of like
Yeah.
notice, and you're like, all right, so how can I cheat this or work that, or wear thigh highs that'll help me with my legs and this and that. But anyways, I think that when it comes to like the fitness part of it, get in shape, but like not to get that physical shape that you're looking for, let's say the six pack. It's for you, for that energy. And we all know it. Like you don't want to go to the gym, but then once you're done, you're like, oh, I feel so good. Like
Yeah.
the hormones, the everything, like the dopamine, you're like, okay, this felt amazing. Like you never really regret working out. And so I think that's what we want to aim for. I think dancers should go for that. Find what works for you. Boxing was the thing for me for years. I haven't done it in a bit now because of COVID-19, but that just, I love it. And it wasn't, oh, I love it because I'm getting results. The result was a bonus. Like it feels good. My body feels great. My energy is high up. I'm not as tired. So I really encourage people to go and do that research. What is it for you? Is it jujitsu, boxing, biking, swimming? I mean, there's so much that you can be doing. And I want you to look for that inside feeling that feels amazing, that is for you and you only. And that builds your confidence to then have you be noticed in the audition setting.
You can tell right away when someone walks in and they know who they are and they are confident, not egotistical, but confident, comfortable in their own skin. I love that you said, be who you are and make them want you.
Yeah.
We've got to start flipping that casting. And I think things are slowly changing. I think we are kind of realizing that healthy and happy is the way to go,
Yeah.
and that there shouldn't be one particular look or size for anything. Diversity and inclusion are key. And especially with women wanting to see more women like us on screen, on stage, etc. Lizzo's a great example of that right
Mhm.
now, in my opinion. I feel like someone like Madonna has always kind of looked at all different shapes, sizes. It didn't matter if you stood out. Pink as well as someone who artist wise has always kind of said like, you have something, I want you. And I've
Absolutely.
appreciated those types of moments, because if you feel like you're out of the running before you even start, that chips away at you a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
And but you've given us some great ideas and suggestions, but ultimately it's be happy and healthy, and that resonates and that gives off this light and this aura. And as soon as you step into the audition casting classroom, you've got a different way about you. You could have that quote unquote perfect body but have no confidence.
Right.
Like that's still a thing.
Hmm.
But if you stand there with your head high, shoulders back, smiling, ready to go, even if you might not have been in the initial casting, they might end up picking you. I mean, just like you said, you went into that Nicole Scherzinger audition. Like, this is my day. Like, I know who I am. And yes, I might be slightly Caucasian, but,
Very,
but
very much.
you're going to want me today. Not because I'm better than everyone else in the room, but because I'm healthy, happy, and I know who I am.
Yeah.
There's keys to that. I remember, if I can tell a story quick, I did a Ubisoft Just Dance commercial for Nico Archambault.
Okay.
And at first, I wasn't sent the first casting because, same thing with me, my stipulations weren't on there.
Okay.
They wanted like person of color, white, boy, whatever it may have been. And nobody found anything in the first round of casting. So then Nico, I remember him saying like, well, can I just send the people that, I believe in? And he sent it to me and I was like, well, I'm still not on the stipulations, kind of same thing as you. And
Right.
he's like, well, should I even submit myself? He's like, you know what, just do it. And turns out that instead of having a third boy in the commercial, which was their original casting, I ended up taking over. So I'm sorry to whoever that boy was. And they took me instead as a third girl instead of a third boy. And then I went from casting 5 slots to actually the main role as number one, just because I went in there being like, well, this is who I am. And if you want me, you want me. If you don't, you don't. But this is it. This is me. Also because Nico always fights for, good people because he's such a good person.
Mm-hmm.
But it's true. You got to know who you are. You got to go in there and you got to look wise and image wise. It's got to be who you are. You can adjust your clothing, your hair and makeup for the role, like being smart about it, like
Yeah.
you had mentioned before.
Yeah.
But you got to be you, and I think
Absolutely.
that's something we got to learn. Yeah, no, so good.
Yeah, I think I like to say that, instead of seeking validation in others, you got to find it in yourself. And
Oh,
again,
yeah.
it's a long life journey. We all have our doubts and our lows, or I'm not this, I'm not enough. But that's the work that is important. And that's the work that I want to bring up in the Kim Jong experience. That's what has, now that I can look back, I'm like, ooh, because I've been doing this work, it has really, really helped me stand out or keep a job. It's not just about like there's the initial booking with the audition, but then how do you work on that longevity? How do you get rehired over and over again to the point where at this, no matter the artist, the choreographer just knows they can call you, not audition you, book you directly because they trust you. And that
Mhm.
pass, dancing. And I think it's that whole mental work and positive energy and what you bring into a group for sure.
Oh yeah, and you said longevity. That's a great word. Making an actual living out of dance, making an actual career out of dance, and having it last a long time, having that longevity. That's a lot about mindset. And you're someone who talks greatly about manifesting what it is that you're looking for. How did you discover that that was a great tool for you? And do you suggest it to the rest of us to kind of flip that mindset and start manifesting a little bit more of what we want?
It's so funny. As you're asking me the question, I just had a flash of like me really little, like manifesting this boy talking to me at school.
Oh my God.
So I think it's kind of always been like my way of like daydreaming and having fun with it. Like, ooh, I wish this happened. And what if this was to happen? So I think it was just, I don't know, my playfulness that just came as a child and then that I maybe kept going with it. But yeah, I've always wanted to, that's what I would use before I went to bed. If I couldn't fall asleep, I was like, okay, let me just make up my own dream and then kind of fall asleep into
Wow.
it. And so that has developed into like actual, like, okay, let me make the decision, during the day or while I meditate or whatnot to, start manifesting what I want. And I mean, I remember this one time I was on a plane ride, which was like, I think 12 hours long. And I decided to play Beyonce's album on repeat, the same album over and over and over again for 12 hours. But I just like got in the zone and I saw myself on that stage and with her and she's, on the left and she's doing this and I'm wearing that and not only what was happening physically and visually what I could create, but what the feelings were attached to that. And I think that's what's
Mm.
important. It's those feelings. Like, how does it feel to be like in the zone, to be, or how we can, like the vortex, that space, like you feel excited, you're proud, you're happy, you're, all these things. Well, then try to reach those different feelings on a daily. Like, so we tend to think, when I see it, I'll believe it. But you've got to believe it so that you could see it. When you attach and you align with those feelings that make you feel so good and so proud and so excited about life, and you're on your X and you're on, you have your purpose, then all of a sudden everything starts pouring in and coming in. Like I really truly believe in that. And when things feels like they're not going right or they're going, they're just, it feels off, and then I catch myself, I'm like, oh yeah, it's because I've been worried too much. I'm sending in the wrong energy. I'm not vibrating right, and then I just fix that. and things fall back into place, and doors open that I didn't really even think of, and that they're great and they're for me. And so yeah, that mental mood and space is super important.
No, it's absolutely what we need to start doing, turning those negatives into positives, understanding if it didn't happen, it wasn't meant for us.
Yeah.
But as we switch that mindset and as we manifest those things, it's understanding that sometimes we'll have to pivot and redirect and what it might be. You might move forward, it might not be in the exact way you want, but you're still going forward no matter what?
Yes, I love that, Randy, when she said, the A, B, C, but at least you're moving, even if it's not like the B that you had imagined when you guys were talking about those directions.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
it's a step forward for sure. And it's, it always happens. I'm sure everyone listening right now can think back of something when they wanted something so badly and it didn't happen, but then boom, something magical instead, or some other door, they happen to be available for something even bigger. Like, me auditioning for So You Think You Can Dance season 1. I mean, I wanted it so bad. And I was with Vincent at the time. We were a couple and he got chosen for it and I didn't. I was crushed,
Mm.
obviously excited for him, but I was like, man, like I thought this was for me. And then, fast forward to the next year where I get it and I'm roomed with Mel Ma. And then we moved to LA together. We start You Got This Girl together, which, she fully directs on her own now. But just all these amazing opportunities that we've created together. And now I'm like, oh, universe, gotcha. Okay, if I did season 1, I would have never met Mel and lived with her for 3 months and all those beautiful things. It's just, you can only see it after, most of the times. But so when it is rough and you hear a no or you're rejected, just try to place yourself in that future and just trusting that, yeah, this is happening for a reason. I don't see it quite yet, but it is happening for a reason.
Oh, that is such an excellent idea. When we don't feel like we're getting to where we thought we should be getting to, go
Right.
back to those moments where something didn't go the way you planned, but something else came up. Because you're right, we all have those moments. I can think of a million right now.
I'm sure.
A million where I was so set on something that didn't happen, so bummed, and then sometimes even days later something else comes up and you're like, wow, this is even better, but I wouldn't have been able to do this if that other thing came through. Like, it's
Exactly.
so true.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Oh my God. That's so true. You have taken all of 15 plus years of experience, which is so crazy. And we're still going.
Yes.
Um, we're still going, forever young and all that jazz. And you've compiled it into something that is truly amazing. And not only have you compiled it into that, you've given people options of what's the best way for them to receive this mentorship, which is so incredible of you. Can you go a little bit into the Kim Gingras experience and the 3 different packages that people can get?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, so I figured, people have different needs and different budgets, and especially in a time right now where I want to really, respect everyone and where they're at and meet them where they're at. So, package 1 is the cheapest one, or the less expensive, I should say, and it's basically 12 hours, so 6 Zoom conversation as a group. So 12 hours and the 3 months together, where we will talk about just everything we've mentioned in this podcast. I want to talk about auditioning, branding, work visas, networking, but also all of the mental aspect of things. So I'm sharing and telling all. I want them to know and be educated in this industry to help them if they want a career in dance, and to also help them. Maybe they might realize, okay, you know what, this is not for me. Now that I know
Yeah.
all this information, now that I know how much a dancer can make or this and that, okay, it might not be for me. So those conversations are just like, I want people to picture it as like a virtual hangout. We'll be on Zoom together. I want you to grab your, glass of vino or your favorite hot chocolate
Yes.
or whatever, get comfortable. And then for the first hour, I'm just giving you lots of information for you to download and to just, take notes and take it all in. And then the next hour of that Zoom call, it's open to questions and conversation. So we're just talking about that subject, and I want to answer everyone's, question and needs and fears and everything. So there's 6 of those. So they're bi-monthly conversations. Plus we
Okay.
have access to a private Facebook community. So all together, which has started already. People are putting their videos, introducing themselves. I'm
Ah!
so excited. Everyone is pumped and they're just beautiful energies. And you feel it like when you're all investing, everyone's investing in themselves. There's something special. This is just kind of like a parenthèse, but there's something
Yeah.
special about when getting something for free versus I'm investing, I'm putting that money. You take it so much more seriously. And I'm
Very true.
seeing that already. Like these dancers are just like, yep, let's go. I'm investing in myself and I'm ready to, really put all of my energy into this. And it's a great time right now because there's not as much going on.
Yeah.
So that's package one. Then package two, you have access to all of that. Plus you get 3 one-on-one sessions with me. So
Wow.
more exercises. This is where we dive into what you personally need. What are your personal goals? I want you to get clear, and together we're going to create a game plan for the next months and years to come. And then package three is all of that I just named, plus another 3 sessions together. So that's 6 sessions total, which means more accountability, more challenges, more of everything. I really, I'm with you throughout these 3 months, and, there for you afterwards, of course. And on top of that, with package three, I'm hosting this fun little event for everyone in package three with a few little surprises. And it's just a way for us to meet in person, really connect on a whole other level and to just further their career and themselves. And, so I won't say too much because I want it to be a surprise.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Keep it for the you for sure.
A fun little, event together.
Oh my God, this is where I wish I could go back in time and
Right.
be an up and coming dancer and have something like this. I wish I had better mentors. I'll tell you that much right now. Does the program have any type of age limit? Is there a maximum amount of dancers you're accepting? And then is there a submission deadline?
Yes, so the whole program, it starts September 1st until November 30th. So September 1st, probably morning or maybe the night before, will be when I close things to make sure
Okay.
the registration will stop then. And then in terms of the limit of spaces, so package 2 and 3, because they inquire, they're about private sessions. Those are there. It is limited spaces. Surprisingly, package three is it's the most expensive one, but people are serious, which I'm so excited about because it's the
Good.
most popular one. So I might have to close that one soon already.
Wow.
Yeah, and then but then the first package one is definitely a bit more open to a lot of people coming in because it is via Zoom as a group. So this permits me to connect with people all around the world and to kind of leave it open for many people to come in. And then, yeah, all the information is on my website to register. I feel like there's something else that you asked that I want to.
Oh, age, is there an age
Oh, yes.
limit
Thank
or
you. Yeah, so there's no age limit.
okay.
Right now I have as young as a 10-year-old, but she's coming in with her parents, which I do suggest. If you are younger, please, parents, come on in. I want to answer your questions as a parent, with a child wanting to do that as a career. I'm sure you have many questions. And
That's great.
then you can be as old as you want, as long as you are a dancer, you're dedicated to your craft, you want to get better, that this is not it's not about like actually choreography or dancing. I'm not showing you any dance moves. We are working on all the other aspects of a career in dance.
Which I think is so vital and so, so smart. Drop your website info again. And then could you also, after that, talk a bit about your newsletter too, which I subscribe to? I love it.
Thank you. Yes, so my website is my full name, so www.kimgingras, that's KIMGINGRAS.com. So everything's on there. The website is in English, and then there's a click for all the French information as well. And then
Right.
I do have this free newsletter that I called KIMSPIRATION, and it's just that it's inspirations that have helped me. It's little tricks and little bits. So maybe right now you're looking at your finances and you can't afford one of my packages. At least start with a newsletter, because that's me coming in every 2 weeks and dropping a little here on thing about budgeting, thing about auditioning, just like little things just to help the community as best as I can. So those, I think, have been really helpful so far. I'm getting great feedback. So please go ahead and do that. On my website, I also have 3 freebies at the moment. One to stand out at an audition, another to build your self-confidence, and then another one that talks about what you should have in your dance bag. And those are free, so you can go ahead and grab those too.
Oh my God, I love it so much. You are doing so, so much. I'm very happy to have you back in Montreal. Not gonna lie.
Yes, me too.
Not gonna lie. It's been great. I mean, I've been admiring from afar, but it's so nice to have you here. We're basically family for those that don't know.
Exactly. And I've got to, and Julia, I've got to say, I'm so proud of all the work that you are doing. It's so inspiring. It's just, yeah, you're such a building community person, and gathering people for the right reasons. And it's just such beautiful work. And yeah, I'm with you, and I support you on everything in Project Ray. It's so cool.
Yes, yes. Oh my gosh, thank you so much, Kimbo. I really appreciate it. Listen, before I unfortunately have to let you go, I could talk to you for hours. We know this. Do you have any final words, hopes, advice, something you want to leave everybody with besides sign up for the Kim experience right now? But any hopes for the future, anything at all?
I know that this year is bizarre, and there's a lot going on, and I think I want to look at 2020 and this pandemic as just this sort of wink with the universe, telling us, we don't have control over everything, we don't have control over much, but we do have control over our feelings and how we decide to look at the world. And so it's all about perspectives. So I would, encourage everyone to look at that and try to see the positive and staying flexible and the ways to recreate yourself, or to give more love and attention to the things that really matter. I think I'm realizing, I don't know about you, Julia, but with this sort of slowdown and being not, well, I guess, kind of stuck at home, just the importance of family and
Totally.
close friends and health is so important, and we have that, and I just feel like so grateful. I feel like the most grateful this year, and it's a year where you would think like, okay, we have a lot more things to kind of bitch about, but
Right? Right?
with Trump and states and everything, but you know yeah, Black Lives Matters and everything that's going on, there's just it's yeah, there's so much to be thankful for. As soon as you have your health, it's just a big win. And so I want to leave people with that. I think be grateful for what you have, and the blessings that you can count in your life right now. Hold them tight, hold them dear, and yeah, show your gratitude every day.
Oh, I love that. Show your gratitude every day, because it's true. We can think about all the things we don't have, but we should really be thinking about all the things we do have and how we
Mhm.
can, still uplift one another. You do what you can with what you have anytime you can. And when you realize you can do better, do better. But we got to keep moving. And I appreciate that so much. I appreciate you. I thank you for taking the time to be here today. This was an absolutely wonderful conversation. You are an absolutely wonderful person. And I
Oh,
adore you,
ditto,
Kim.
ditto. Thank you so much, Julia. It's such a pleasure.
Take care, my love.
Yes, I'm excited for our next chat.
Yeah, very soon. Stay tuned, everybody.
Bye.
I want to thank Kim so much for being with us today. So many wonderful tips and tricks. And if you want more, sign up right now for her new mentorship program, Kim Experience. I also want to thank all of you for tuning in each week. These last 3 months have been absolutely incredible for me and figuring out my own artistic process. And if you figured it all out today, what would be the point of tomorrow? So enjoy the process of being a work in progress. Until next time.